Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chakra Meditation Podcast. I'm Rosanne, as always, and I have a lovely guest for you today. Richard Perry is with me, and Richard is an author and actually many other things we're going to find out. But I've basically written down two words. I've written down sound and food, and these two things they make my heart happy, and they're pretty integral to most people's hearts, I think. So let's find out more about what goes on inside the brain of Richard Perry. So welcome, Richard. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Roseanne. It's great to be here.
Yeah, really happy to have you here. So we're here ostensibly to talk about your book that you have written, which is called In Search of the Perfect Guitar. And we were just talking. I mean, obviously, I alluded to sound being like one of these, and sound healing is something that's really on the up at the moment. You know, your beautiful sound baths and sound healing is very much in the popular mind at the moment. It's really, excuse the pun, resonating. Um,
I
and so
vibrate with that.
and for good reason. So tell me, what is this book about? How did you come to it? Yeah, tell me everything about the book to begin with, and let's see where we get to.
Well, it's first of all, it's done being written, and it's in my third edit. So I just keep going through, and it's a perfection flaw in me. So I'm trying to make it just right. But this started out on a meditation retreat when in the shrine room, the teacher rang a singing bowl. And I was like, wow. I don't know why it was the singing bowl. It was like everything else on the retreat was far less memorable than the singing bowl. So I
Hmm.
went home, I bought one, and I just started listening to it. And I found this very calming quality in the singing bowl. The frequencies, like, the space between the ringing of the bowl is where the meditation was really happening. So you ring the bowl and you sit calmly and you focus on the breath. Thoughts rise, you go back to the breath, you strengthen your focus, this kind of thing. And I was actually using the singing bowl as the point of reference for me to bring thoughts back to.
Hmm.
And and in that I was noticing all these colorful ranges of tone
Hmm.
in that.
Hmm.
Anyway, so life goes on. Fast forward about 16 or 17 years into the future, and I'm sitting with my guitar like I have many times, and I was playing a single note, and I kind of looked away. I was distracted or whatever it was, and I thought, wow, that's a lot like the singing bowl. It was like my first thought was like, wow, wouldn't that be cool if my guitar could like serve as a meditation tool?
Hmm.
And it's like, and if it could, I'd be getting kind of like a two for one. I'd
Yeah.
be, or a three for one, where I'm playing the note and I have the meditative quality, and then I can just sit there silently, you know, and just breathe and then play a note again. And then also look at the color of the note and really sort of examine it. And that's opened up my ears to the all the audible possibilities in life. And
Hmm.
as you know, there are many. I mean, I
Yeah.
think audible, I mean, there's more audible, activity, I think, than any other activity that there is. I mean, if you close your eyes, you have audible. If your eyes are open, you have audible. And then I began to sort of like focus on specific tones in just my environment. And I began to use these tones like birds, the crunch under the feet on a hiking trail, different things like that, the sound of water running, and
Hmm.
making an intent to use these triggers to sort of wake up, you know. And what does wake up mean? It's like, okay, it's being sort of present in the moment, waking up to this thought that rises that has me concerned about something and realizing that if I just do my responsibility, I don't have to attach to the thought. I
Hmm.
can let it go. I do my duty, close the folder.
Hmm.
And so I think we all get wrapped up in thoughts. And that is sort of music and thoughts, tone and thoughts, sound and thoughts. I've been working with them together to help me be more present, more mindful.
Mm, mm. I love that. I think that a lot of people use sound to assist them in meditation. And I know that I do frequently use just a sort of a soundtrack of, I don't know, like a babbling brook or just random tones, what my mum would call it sort of, meditation music, just like sort of blingily blongly, nothing specific, no melody that comes through. But just sounds that are pleasing, that resonate, and it somehow is very focusing. It allows your brain to just rest with the tone, to rest with the music, the noise, whatever's there. And in the absence of that, the brain will just buzz around like a fly in a box, just like bashing off the sides and go crazy. But it's just something that brings you back, as you said, into this present moment, which is where we want to be when we're meditating, and where we want to be as much as we can, really, in life, full stop. But I'm so how did this exploration of sound, of resonance, how did that turn into a book? And did you find the perfect guitar?
Great questions. So I wasn't setting out to write a book. A friend of mine is a guitar maker, a luthier, and he recognized my interest in tone. And I went to him and I said, you know, what is it about guitars? I mean, how do they, like, I have a bunch of guitars and they all sound so different, and each one
Mm,
evokes a different feeling. And so he began to explain to me about how guitars are made. And then I began to look at sound and where it first came from and the earliest guitars. And he said, you know, you should be writing all this down. You should keep a
mm,
journal. So for 3 years, I kept a journal and I just kept having more and more questions. It was like, okay, well, what is tone wood? And
mm,
my friend would explain, well, each guitar is made of a certain kind of wood, and those woods were trees. And I started thinking, well, what trees? Where do they grow?
mm.
What makes them different?
Yeah.
When was the first guitar made? You know, and then it goes back to like Big Bang, you know, the first sound and vibration. And I'm like on this
Mm,
huge deep dive that was really
mm.
propelled by question after question after
Yeah.
question.
I mean, there's a never-ending supply of those questions, right? So did you get into, because you say like the Big Bang and the sound, and in yogic terms, the seed, the bija mantra, first sound, the sound that created the universe is Om. Did you get into did did you go there?
Om. Yeah.
Om.
Mani Padme Hung. Om Mani Padme Hung. In fact, I actually wrote a chapter on using the voice to match the tone of the guitar as a meditation
Mm.
tool itself, which has been fabulous. But it's like, what came first? Is it sound or vibration? And that was a question that I had.
Did
And
you
I'm
find the
like,
answer?
well, do we hear the tree when it falls in the forest? Kind of thing. We don't know if so. This goes back pretty far. I don't think we were around in that moment, but I think for us to hear is to have a medium. And when there's no medium, maybe it's just, I think it's vibration. I think there was just an
Yeah.
event And then I was going into areas I probably shouldn't even touch on now because I'm not an expert in any of this, and we don't know much about these multiverse, and maybe the Big Bang was not the beginning and all this stuff. That's where I kind of draw the line
Hmm.
because I love science, I love fact, I love like neuroplasticity, like
Hmm.
building habits and changing the mind, which is something that is proven for me and proven scientifically. And focusing on the breath and going back to a single point of focus like the breath is historical. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years
Yeah.
for a reason because it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and we were, I don't know quite when it all happened. I think I'm going to let's blame the Industrial Revolution for kind of separating us from that very, maybe around that era, it feels like, there were still people exploring these more esoteric things, but they were very much shunned from society for quite a number of generations. And all of the kind of yeah, exploratory human instincts were sort of suppressed a little bit, and now it feels like it's exploding out, and everybody's got permission to, think and believe and explore and hypothesize about any number of possibilities. And I love what you're saying. What came first? The vibration or the sound? Well, sound is vibration, like it is by definition. Like it all comes together in the same way that, when energy moves, it is vibration. If you go to the quantum physics side of life, every you go inside each atom into right down to the very tiniest particles. There's space and nothing and movement. And that's the essence of everything. Even the most solid looking piece of anything is still got movement within it. It's still got vibration. We are full of vibration. We are full of energy. Energy is vibration. And
Mhm.
so sound, when we bring sound into the equation, we are matching our internal with the external, right? So when your guitar makes that particular sound that resonates with something within you, let's say it's your heart chakra, or like there's something that's matches, and you're like, oh, there's a recognition, there's a kind of familiarity there that's safe and comfortable and soothing and yeah,
Mhm.
it's pure magic. It's just sound is so, and I know exactly what you mean. All of these instruments, guitars, for some people, like some instruments don't resonate with everybody. Like for me, I can't bear an organ, like a big church organ. Oh, does me in. But, bring me an oboe and I'm in tears, like same notes, same, but it's just like the delivery of the frequency. What did you find out about that? Or were you just focusing on guitars? Like how different instruments make different quality of noise.
Well, I've been drumming a little bit lately,
Oh,
and
wow.
drumming predates guitar, presumably.
Yes.
We weren't there, but
No,
you
I
know,
think we can assume that fairly
yeah,
safely. Yeah.
yeah. So, I keep my focus right now on the guitar because there's so much color in it, and to your point, certain frequencies, certain tones conjure a connection or a
Mm.
feeling. The guitar is wonderful that way because there are so many opportunities. When I pull out my harp guitar, I play a deep bass note,
Yeah.
a fundamental note. You just sort of like, I don't know, it's very connecting. It's that whole feeling is what had me look back at sort of the beginning of life.
Mm.
It's like this feeling. It's like you can't really explain it. It's experiential. You know it. Most people know it. When you hear a note or you hear a song or even someone's voice and you're just like, oh, there's just that that calming feeling
Yeah.
that arises effortlessly. You're not like making it feel calm. It comes naturally. What is that? What is that? And how do we tap into that more often? How can we tap into it at home? How can I be with that feeling more often? Because it between those activities of hearing those tones is life and experience, and I want to be feeling more content, through my day and through my life. And it would seem that there are things that we can do, and not just guitar and meditation. There are things that we can do that help us uh, with that.
Mm. And in terms, I'm just interested to know what you think about this. So, when you are holding one of your guitars, and if you're just listening to the podcast, go and have a quick look at the YouTube video of this, because behind Richard, you will see his harp guitar, which is quite spectacular. It's kind of double, it's really beautiful. It's very organic shape. Um, when you are holding your harp guitar, you are holding it almost like a child. You're holding it to your belly. And so that resonance is really close into your heart, into your body. And do you think that just listening, so when you played it for me before we started recording, Richard really kindly played me this guitar, and I was like, a massive smile on my face, absolutely gorgeous. And um it resonated with me, even though you're on the other side of the globe to me right now, I felt that resonance, and I felt that sort of, oh, there was a magic into it. So is it possible to just listen to that kind of music with intention and get the same benefit that you're having from holding that guitar close to your body, do you think?
100%, because when I first heard the singing bowl, it wasn't even near me. It was probably 20 feet from me, but it rang out loud, and I gravitated towards it, or it gravitated towards me. But there is the added benefit of the guitar and the physical vibration of it against the body, and especially a harp guitar. So everybody needs to run out and buy a harp guitar.
Yeah.
Actually not, but a regular six-string guitar, and it doesn't even have to be a guitar, but
Mm.
having that close to the body, it adds another element to the experience.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it does. I mean, I have a basic singing bowl that I use in my classes sometimes. And it's really interesting because also I have oh, you can't see it up there. I have a couple of little smaller bells that I sometimes ring. And when I go into class, I try out my bells, and at the end of the Shavasana, I just like do a little ding. And some people would go, "Oh, just don't do that. I don't like that noise. It's too this or it's too that." Like they weren't enjoying it. So it's really interesting how some people go, "Oh, that was lovely. It was bright, and that was like a drink of clear water." And other people go, no, that just sort of jarred me. I didn't enjoy it. Whereas a singing bowl is an evolution of a sound, and it resonates bigger. Um, do you use your singing bowl with for your meditation, or do you just focus on using your guitar now?
Well, this is the one I have back here is a 10-inch. It's detuned singing bowl, and I mean the frequencies in a metal bowl versus a crystal bowl are
Mm,
different. The
very.
singing bowl with all its metals, I mean, you're talking about a huge range of tone. It's a bit chaotic in kind of a controlled and acceptable and pleasing way. And the color of it is irresistible. It's
Mm,
just irresistible. Just to stand there and, you know, just to make the sound and just to stand there and listen to it all the way until you can't hear it anymore. Sometimes I'll move a
mm.
little
You get
closer,
there,
a little closer because I just I don't want it to go away. And but then when the
yeah.
real work, the real beauty, truthfully for me, is the silence between the notes, and that was a piece mean, that is the meditation. It's one is the focus on the sound, and the other is to be in the space between the sound. Perhaps the place where all things, all sounds, and everything is born from anyway, because when I'm quiet, the next thing I say is born from that quietness.
Mm.
So it's everything is born from the space. And in that space, I'm able to see my monkey mind.
Yeah.
And, that's really helpful for me.
Mm.
So it's kind of it's a very complete path. The sound, the silence, the sound again, the silence, and this continuous cycle
Mm.
of a practice that I engage in with the bowl, with my guitar, and with life. I love triggers. Triggers are vital. They're just vital for me. And I try to find them. And I have a few because I've repeated, you know, their purpose for me. For example, bird chirping. When I hear a bird chirping,
Hmm.
I'll listen to the bird and it reminds me to sort of wake up because aren't we mostly lost in our thoughts? Aren't we kind of like doing something and then I hear the
Yeah.
bird chirp and I'm like, okay, I'm here again. I just
Mm.
want to find ways to close that gap so that I don't know if that's enlightenment. I don't know. It seems like an impossible thing to do to be constantly awake and aware every moment. I wish. But I
Mm.
want to close the gap. My whole goal, my whole purpose for me personally is to close the gap between lost in thought and present in the moment.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, that's the essence of living a content and peaceful life, right? Is finding um that presence of mind to know when you have to think about a thing, make a decision, solve a problem, whatever, plan, because we've all got to do all of those really annoying things in our lives. We have to deal with money and supermarkets and, all of the rest of it.
And people.
And people and all of that. But when we can, in between those moments, bring ourselves back into that space that you're talking about, this present moment, that listening for the silence and reveling in the silence and remembering that we are just here right now, then everything else begins to lose its sharpness or its, importance. We begin to realize that actually this moment. So what you're describing to me is like a living meditation. It's like a meditation that you're doing throughout the day. Like every time you hear a bird cheep, you're back in that moment of presence, which is fantastic. And I love that you use the word triggers because so many times in the work that I do, we use triggers in a kind of negative connotation. It's like, somebody says blah and oh, I was really triggered, and it's like become a slightly negative word. So I'm glad that we can reuse it actually. It's a very nice thing to reuse it for using things, everyday events, small event moments in life to bring yourself back to the present moment.
Well, imagine if a negative thing, a negative person or something served itself as a trigger. So somebody says, "Hey, get out of my way." You're like, "Oh, that's a trigger to sort of like calm
Mm,
and just sort of wake up to this because your thoughts are going to rise and they're going to be like, "Hey, what do you mean?" Or and then you begin this uncomfortable dialogue.
yeah.
And that the practice is the meditation part of it, but the action piece is when you're engaged with an activity or someone or something that's going on. that causes discomfort for you. And that, if you can turn that into a trigger, wow. If you can
Mm.
make everything a trigger, the turning on of the water, it's like something broke again. Oh, that darn thing keeps breaking. It keeps breaking. Well, okay, maybe that can become a trigger. It's a stretch and it's not easy.
Mm.
But I
Mm.
try to, because otherwise you're just like, oh, this thing, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like when you see that, it drives me crazy. I'm kind of waking up to that right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel so crazy now because I recognize that this thing makes me crazy. And what purpose does it serve for me to be crazy like that? Because in 10, 15 minutes or whatever, I'm not going to be crazy like that anymore. But I raised my blood pressure. I got
Yeah.
all upset. I might have,
Upset
said something.
somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have
Yeah.
said something
Exactly.
I shouldn't have said.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. I don't want to be that guy.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And so, Richard, what have you spent your life doing? Because this is obviously a passion project for you. This is something that is that you're just really like leaning into and enjoying. And I absolutely can taste the relish that you have in your life for this stuff that you're doing in this book that you've written. But what have you? What? Because I know that as I alluded to at the beginning of our chat, I wrote down sound and food. But there's more. There's much more to you than that. So, like, tell me, what have you done in your life that has brought you to this place now, where this is your focus and this is your passion?
Well, strangely, when out of high school, I joined the Navy and became a sonar technician. And you know how,
Ah,
like in life, things happen, and later on, you look back and you kind of go, "Oh, I see why that happened."
yeah,
Well, sonar, sound,
yeah.
I would never have even imagined in the moment, nor 4 years ago, just before I began this journey, that that would have a connection. But
Mm,
sound has always been something that has, I can pinpoint now that I look back moments where sound had a key impact on my life, on all of our lives. I wouldn't say that sound has been my career path. I've done I mean I was a chef for many years. In fact, it's really interesting. When I was a chef, I was in a professional kitchen and we had these hood vents. They were like these 8 burners, gas burners, and these hood vents above that we could take out and we could clean them and stuff. Big hood vent system. And it always had this hum because you could
mm.
hear the vibration of it. And I would just put my head under there and match the tone of the
Really?
vent. It would be like this, ooh, and I would do it loud, and like the guys are looking at me like, you weirdo. And I'm like, this is really cool, you guys, check this out. Ooh. Of course, they're not doing it. They're just like, they're back doing their thing.
Yeah.
But it's events like that I look back where I have always been like connected to this vibration.
Mm,
I feel very closely connected to vibration,
yeah.
and it has popped up in different ways in my life. So when this project began, I discovered, the guitar as a tool for vibration and to bring it just was very, what's the word, apropos, very
Mm,
just very exciting. And because I love guitar and I love meditation and I
mm,
love to be mindful when I can, when I'm not
yeah.
lost. So it
Yeah.
all came together.
Yeah. Oh, I love that because that's obviously just very deep in your soul that resonance is there for you. So do you share this with people? Do you teach, or is it just this book you've written? You just want to put this lovely energy and knowledge that you've gleaned to other people who are just in love with their guitars? Is that the purpose of this, or is it got a wider, deeper purpose that you're hoping to get out into the world?
It is a wider, deeper purpose that I hope to get out into the world for sure with my
Mm,
book. I want people to discover a more contented way of living. That's my hope. It's my purpose. My path for that is to teach people how to use sound. It doesn't have to be sound, but sound is what I'm doing right now. The whole thing to me is about thoughts, and not getting wrapped up in them. And I find that sound is a path to help manage them. So, yeah, it is something I want to spend the rest of my life around, music,
Mm.
guitar, sound, thoughts, vibration, connectivity, vulnerability, uh, being unafraid to share who I am, which has been a change for me in my lifetime.
Mhm.
And I love vulnerability, just meaning that I just can be who I am and not be concerned that I won't be loved or liked. This I know is a problem for many people. So, yeah, my friends know what I'm doing, and I am working on a little, like a yoga studio thing, just a free event where I will take in my harp guitar and play a drone note and a harmonic. What I love to do is have people count the harmonics and see if they caught them all, to see if they were able to stay focused long enough to count all of the harmonics in, say, a 3 minute span of time.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to count your breaths. One breath
Mm.
in, exhale, one, two. And to stay with that, I used to
Um,
lose count all the time, even
oh
to
yeah.
10.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, can be astoundingly difficult to count to three sometimes when you're doing that kind of thing. I'm with you. I ask people, in my yoga practice, if we're doing a breath and we're doing a movement, and I say, right, do five of these, and I literally I can hold my hands up. I lost count after three because I was just in it. After two, it's just like, where am I? What am I doing? How many have I done? Because you're there. Yeah, and I get that. That sounds lovely. And it's funny as you were talking there, what came up for me, do you remember that there was a book that was, I don't know when it was published, probably back in the 70s sometime, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And that's actually nothing to do with motorcycle maintenance, although it probably had a bit there. But it was very much a meditative, learning journey kind of a book. And I feel
Yeah.
like this is the same. Your book is the same because it's going to sound to your guitar aficionados, oh, it's all about guitars, but actually you're teaching them about life skills, about how to live a good life.
Yeah. And that book is sitting right over here.
Is it?
Yeah, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle. I'm looking at it right now. It's great. And he does talk a little bit about motorcycle, like he talks about the gear that he packs, but it's definitely experiential,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful thing. And it's a great story. And, I try to make my writing not be so much about the guitar, but I do talk about how different guitars will feel better. But really, the story is about waking up. Just like my teacher says, just wake up. It's like, wake up.
Just wake up. How many times do you have to wake up every day? That's a good question. Like where we do the one big wake up and then you have to continue to wake up throughout every single day because it's so easy to lose yourself. So you obviously started meditating a while back and you don't teach, you've got this idea of having this, these events in the studios, but this is just your own personal practice that you're talking about. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
I'm developing myself. I've never really thought of myself as a teacher. When I put myself in the mindset of being a teacher, it's almost like imposter syndrome. And I know that that's
Mm,
just my own thing I'm working on. I
yeah,
want to make sure that what I have to say and what I have to teach will resonate,
yeah,
with people, that it really is something that can help them.
yeah,
And I know it does with my friends. And it's my perfectionism. Yeah, I want to make sure that I get my program down right and make sure that I'm able to provide the optimal benefit for people before I go out and teach. But it's definitely on my radar.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it is such the guitar is something that we all hear every day. Turn on the radio, someone's, any song, it's got a guitar playing in it. Any guitars are always there. And, there are many guitar mad enthusiasts, and there are many wonderful guitar players who change people's lives, with their music, with their resonance, with their sound. But for some people, the guitar is just like, yeah, it's just a guitar. That it doesn't have the same effect on them as it does on you. It can be a completely different instrument or a different modality that that resonates, that makes them feel like they're in touch with themselves, that touches something deep within. But I do believe that there's an instrument out there, there is a resonance out there that will touch everybody. So whether it's a sound bowl, a guitar, a flute, an oboe, a violin, the horrible organ,
Yeah.
um, whatever it is that resonates, will, go out there and find it. Is that do you, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you're just focusing on the guitars and that's what you're, but from a broader point of view, I feel like there's an instrument out there that's going to touch somebody very deeply in the same way that your guitar does.
Yeah, and the guitar is just my practice here. I mean, my real practice is out in the world. The sounds that are out there. Like I said, triggers are
Mm.
huge. It doesn't have to be the guitar. I just have the guitar. I choose the guitar. And I used to just play guitar, like without even thinking about it, you know,
Yeah, just for
for
pleasure.
decades.
Yeah.
That's all I did was just play the guitar. And there's joy in that. That's totally fine. But when you add the element of awareness and you're playing it and you tend to slow down a little bit and each of the notes and each of the chords are more meaningful. They're just deeper. And I'm not saying that you can't play fast or play some rock and roll lead guitar and not get the same thing. For me, the benefit is in slowing down. The meditative benefit is in slowing down, taking a rock and roll chord, and just playing one note followed by the next note, by the next note is incredible. It's just incredible. It's just very connecting. It's very, very connecting.
Yeah, it's so good. I feel like this is the perfect book that's going to start a lot of people off on a journey of self-discovery and meditation that they didn't really know they needed. Like, if you've got a son or a husband who loves playing guitar, like, give them this book and it's like by stealth, they will be like, ah. I see. There's a deeper meaning to the work that or the joy that I'm finding in this playing of the guitar. And I
Mm.
think that's the same with anything that people are passionate about, whether it be anything from, any kind of art, sewing, golf, anything that brings you that. I'm sure that like a golfer would be like, oh, well, the sound when you hit that ball perfectly and you just know that you've hit it just right and the swoosh of that must be, that's it's a similar kind of connection, I'm thinking. When I'm doing pottery, for example, when I'm getting getting the pull just right and it all's just, that it's going to work this time. It's not going to disappear into a puddle of mud. Um, there's those sweet spots that we find in our creative lives, I think is so, so important. This because there's a playfulness to it as well, isn't there? We literally you don't um work the guitar, you play the guitar. And
Yeah, the guitar and me, we sort of work together. The perfect guitar is the one that you have sort of right now that resonates with you. And there's a lot to it. If you get into the guitar and how it's made and the right physical shaped guitar, the
Mm.
length of the neck, the width of the neck, the thickness of the body, the wood type on the top where 80% of the guitar vibrates from, the color that's provided in terms of sound from the sides and the back of the guitar, and all these things together. I do brush a little bit on that so that people can find a guitar that is sort of going to cut to the chase for them because most guitars are purchased online. And if you go into just like a big box store and try to buy a guitar, you're really not going to, you're going to get a production built guitar that doesn't have that resonating quality that like a boutique guitar
Mm.
is going to offer. A true master made guitar. They don't have to be expensive. A used one, all of my guitars, all but one, are previously owned
Mm.
guitars. Over time, the sound, just like people, over time we improve. I like to think we
Yeah.
improve. There are dings and dongs on older guitars, just like there's dings and dongs on us.
Yeah.
And they look how they look, and they play with more wisdom, with more
Yeah.
depth, more resonating qualities, and more opportunity to connect. I just love them. The right
Mm.
guitar, the perfect guitar is just one that just brings out your energy.
I love that. And I love the idea. And as you were speaking, I was thinking um, of the violins that are out there that are worth millions and millions, the Stradivariuses of this world. And yes, they were built by a master violin maker, whatever his name was. I mean, I know he's called Stradivarius, but whatever a violin maker is called. Um, but the history of that instrument, having been held and played by people with intention, with joy, with purpose, with no purpose, just for the joy of it or for the rousing pleasure and sharing of it. There's that all of that guitar has experienced in its life is still there, and that's what you feel when you have a yeah, and when you talk about this, I'm like, God, yeah, if you just went out and bought a guitar from online, just even a good one, to play it without playing it, or to have it without playing it, but having felt it, does feel a little peculiar, doesn't it?
It does. In my book, I mildly sort of help cut to the chase on making the right decisions, what questions to ask.
Mm.
So because it was difficult for me. I mean, most of the guitars I've purchased online. Very few do I ever have the opportunity to go in person, mainly
Mm.
because I study the makers. A lot of them are here. They're in Spain and in the United States. And you can't like if I have a list of like 20 guitar makers that I think would be perfect for me, there's no store that has them, you
No,
know.
that's true.
I like
Yeah.
a 1967 Conde Romanos. I like a Lester DeVoe made in 1996, or in that era. You can't find them. So the only solution really is to learn about what are the best specifications for you and then to take a chance and make a purchase. I will say this, I have friends that have bought like cheap, you know, $100, $200 guitars, starter guitars. A terrible thing to do. I would say if you're going to buy a guitar, your first guitar, spend as much money as you can possibly afford to spend and then spend some more. You know, what would it be like 700 pounds, 1,000 pounds? Really, I think, $1,000, $1,500, you're starting to get into a better made guitar, a used guitar, dings and dongs all over it. A crack in an older guitar, no big deal. It's okay. Cracks are not bad. We have cracks. I'm still getting along.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
Mm.
would be, I think getting really focusing on knowing what you should be looking for and not being afraid to buy an older guitar that has some damage
Mm. Mm.
and has some cosmetic imperfections
Do you
is not.
think that people should go and have a few guitar lessons before they spend £1,000 on a guitar?
Not at all. No, not at
No?
all. In fact, the thing is, when you get a guitar, you just play a single note. Just be with the note all the way through till the note ends, and then play another note. This is a really unique way, I think, to learn how to play a guitar, is to
Mm.
come from the perspective of appreciating the maker and the tone.
Mm.
So when you make a connection to who the maker was, you sort of have already got this connection. So it's about connection. It's just
Yeah.
about connection.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Um, This is so great. And I hope I've inspired, I hope this conversation has inspired at least a handful of people to go think, actually, well, maybe they've got a guitar up in the attic that they had when they were little, or they, just whatever. Go and borrow one, just try it out, and then see if it's for you. Because I think this is a really beautiful way. And I know that there are so many different instruments that we can use for meditation. And guitar, I think, is one that is not commonly thought of. So I love that you're bringing this out. So tell people how they can reach out to you should they want to, and how they can get hold of your book, which I think is out this autumn. Am I right?
Correct. If
Yes.
I can get through this final edit, um,
Wonderful.
theperfectguitar.com.
Okay.
And that will actually, right now, the site is under development, but that will point to richardjperry.com, which is my personal site and has what's going on. There's a sign up list for the book there. But theperfectguitar.com is probably easier to remember.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. And just leave our lovely listeners with just one more little bit of wisdom before we go. What would you like to spread and share?
Mm, so many things wrapped into one thing. Do something. Just do something. Take a moment in silence and listen to a sound. If it's the hum of the refrigerator or, you know, or even the rustling of your clothes or whatever, and
Mm.
just try to stay with that sound one at a time, just as a starting point, or use your breath, but
Mm.
take action, do something, and just see every day just one little thing where you find yourself in the silence, focusing on the breath, focusing on a sound, and then being with the space between those sounds. Uh, it's been life changing for me. That very simple thing right there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. It's been an absolute joy having you.
Well, thank you, Rosanne. It's so good to be here. Appreciate
Thank
your time.